Hello everyone, it's me Nez. Welcome to Nez Telling. I want to be serious today because what I want to discuss is very important. If this is your first time, I am Nez. Welcome to Nez Telling. This channel we usually talk about books, but in 2026 I decided to create something called the Sunday commentary. And welcome to the month of February. For the month of February, we're going to be discussing rethinking marriage. That's what I'm titling this series. For the 3 or 4 Sundays we have in February, I'm going to be discussing this, and this is part 1, and the title is What is the Point? I celebrated my birthday in 2023 and I invited a whole bunch of my friends. Well, like just 10 of us. We just sat down, ate, drank, had fun, and all that. And I've said it multiple times on this channel, I love talking about marriage, love, boy meets girl. I actually enjoy talking about this thing. It's a newfound love, but I like talking about it, and because of that, somehow the conversation moved towards there. And that was the first time I thought to myself, but what's the point? Why are we getting married? Now, I have to go back to when I was a single lady. I remember going to a church event where we actually asked that question, why marry? And I realized that's what we learned that day was like textbook. Like, why don't you commit crime? Because it's against the law. The real reason why you're not committing crime is because you don't want to get caught. I don't know if you understand. So that was the first time I asked that question. I just said, but what's the point? Like, because when you hear the number of things people put their mates through, they put their spouse through, put their children through in this marriage of a thing, the people that are already married, the people that are yet to marry, and the theories and ideas and ideals that they think is very important in this marriage, we should all ask ourselves, what's the point? Like, what's the point of being married? And I wanted to discuss the reasons why we do it and the reasons why we need to actually start questioning a lot of things that we do. Number one reason a lot of us married is because the society told us to. You might not be willing to admit it. Do you understand? And I was in therapy. I was having some issues in my own home, in my own marriage, and I was in therapy in 2020. I think it's either 2023 or 2022. I don't remember. And I remember so much issues that we had to discuss and go through. I had to ask myself, so why did I asked myself, I'm going to be 14 years, I think 14 or 15 years this year. I actually can't remember that I was married. And I just remember thinking, why did I marry? Like, why did I even marry to begin with? Now, it's easy for me to throw that question out because from when I was much younger, I always thought marriage wasn't a good idea. And it wasn't because I was trying to be like, I'm a feminist, but it wasn't me just trying to do strong, powerful feminist or whatever. No, it was just me looking at people that were married around me. Like, I'm looking at parents, not my own parents, because my mom died when I was little, so I can't use my parents, but I'm talking of like my friends' parents, cousins, uncles and aunties, and you're like, this doesn't look good. Like, this looks weird. Do you understand? You see parents that treat their children like they hate them. You see people that treat their spouse like they really. So I'm like, this doesn't look like something like I don't plan to spend the next 50, 60 years being in so much agony and bitterness for someone else. But somehow these same people, they come and climb on your case, and they tell you, oh, you have to marry, oh, you need to marry, hurry up and marry, you need to settle down. Okay, why in aga? A woman's time passes. So it's like that oge that we talk about a lot of times has to do with children. When they say woman marrying on time, oh, a woman's time passes. That's what they say. So they're saying marry on time so you can have children. So some people, like, a lot of these things have been, well, I say imbibed. They've been pushed into you that you actually don't see another way. So eventually, after a lot of thoughts, I just realized I got married because I was expected to. Do you understand? I can get into a whole conversation. I'll talk about it later. There was somebody I was engaged to before and I broke up. And I remember the reaction I got in my house. That's from the older people, not my siblings or my dad, but like the older people in my life, like people that loved and cared about me, and how worried they were about me, that I was a 26-year-old girl that was breaking up a relationship. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen to you? There was a level of, let's say, dejectedness and hopelessness that seemed to be attached to the fact that I decided not to marry this person that I thought was bad for me. So it's like these people were not saying, hey, yeah, hi, now wow, no, that was really bad. Don't worry, better luck next time. It was just like, hey, why did she do it? What's gonna happen to her? Now that so it's like you hear people say, oh, your best years. Like one of my someone say, oh, you've given your best years to this man, and I'm like, I'm only 26. Are you telling me that from now till I'm like 80 or 20, there will be no other best years? People of the Most High, what is happening? So the place of society. That's my point. Because, and this, I guess this is personal to me. You can tell me whether it's the same for you. But what I realized was that eventually when I got married, I was 30 when I got married. I was exactly 30 years, like a month after I turned 30, when I eventually got married to my husband. And I realized that the reason why I married was because I was expected to. Society had imbibed in me that I should marry, and then I went on and I married. That's the bottom line. And this is me. Like, it took a lot of stubborn quarrel with myself to actually agree that is the fact. Because I don't know myself to be someone that does what people tell them to. Like, I'm a stubborn child. I pride myself in being a coconut head. You cannot make me to do what I don't want to do. But I did it. So it's like, in the end, society won. So we are questioning the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. Do you understand? And the reason why we have gone with this process of being married. And one is the society. Number two is FOMO. Do you understand? It's part of the society, this thing, but it's a little different because your friends who have, and I'm talking to you as a Nigerian woman, whether you're within Nigeria or not, outside or not within Nigeria, I'm talking to you as a Nigerian woman, okay? Your friends get married, they have children, and most times they paint this beautiful idea. I feel like that has changed now, okay? But I'm talking of people, those of us that got married before 2000, before 2010 or so. A lot of us were not aware of the truth that was behind marriages. Now social media has gone all the way to the other way. Are overcorrecting, or we're going all the way to the other side, where it's now becoming like nobody's going to have fun in marriage. I don't agree with that. Yes. However, I think that there was a lot of hidden aspects of being married. I remember a friend of mine that told me, there are a lot of things that one of my best friends back then, she told me, I would ask, okay, so how are you? How is marriage? And she'd tell me, there's so much I'd like to tell you, but you're not. Like, she told me that she could not, but like, okay, no, that's not how she said it. She kept on saying, Chinza, how far, after I'd broken up with my ex, how far with, I can't wait for you to marry. There's so many things I would like to share with you, but I cannot share with you because you're not married. I don't know if that's the way she said it, but it was something like that. I just remember thinking, I went to ask some other married people. I asked my sister then, that then she's married. So I was asking her, you people that are married, there's something my friend is saying that she wants to talk to me, and she cannot tell me. And she's like, I don't know what she's talking about. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So the fear of missing out, the idea of the fear of missing out, I think I attach it a lot to the wedding day. And I think that this has led to a lot of people focusing so much to that one day as compared to the rest of your life. They understand. The wedding day is just one thing. One of the best things I think I ever did was getting married in Daystar. And when you start the counseling session, the first thing they tell you is that you don't need to do a wedding event. I don't know if you know. That's the first thing. They actually, a lot of people don't listen. I didn't listen. We had a wedding. But I'm just saying that they encourage you. They tell you, come with your parents. Daddy, come with your weaknesses. Mommy, come with your weaknesses. Come to church. Let pastor bless you people. You people, your sign paper, exchange ring. You people have married. Just be going. You don't have to wear the white. You don't have to wear the suit. You don't have to feed 2,000 people. You don't have to rent a hall. You don't have to do all that. Do you understand? Just come to church. Come to church. Come to office. Do you understand? We will exchange ring. You will sign register. Carry your paper. Go to Ikeja. That's as long as it is proven that you people are married. You people are married. The whole every other thing doesn't matter. So that's part of the major part of FOMO. That thing where I want to get married. So like I'm married to a Yoruba family. Traditionally in Yoruba, there's a whole thing where the bride gets carried. I remember someone saying, I want to be carried though. And I'm like, you're talking about the rest of your life, and you're talking about being carried. No, being carried for 5 minutes is nothing compared to the next 30-40 years of your life. And the funny thing is that a lot of people make it look like, if things don't work out, you can just walk away. Ask your friends that walked away from relationships, and they'll tell you how it is. They'll tell you how it's not as easy as you think it is. So another reason why a lot of us have actually decided to do this thing was because of FOMO. We were afraid of missing out on something. First is the pressure from society. Second is FOMO. Third, interestingly, has a lot to do with the belief that this is for us women, the thing about having children. I dare to say that a lot of us actually did not really think about what having children was about before we had the kids. We didn't think that, I don't know how to put it, we didn't really spend time thinking of what having children are about before we had the kids. I know there's something that's happened where when we think of having children, we prepare for a baby, but we're having, imagine you're having an adult. That's like I say it. You're not having a child, you're having an adult in a young time. I don't know if you understand. So like when you're having a child, remember that this child is going to be an adult What am I going to do for this child? I consider children a gift that God has given you. I'm Christian. God has given you a gift that you're supposed to nurture, help to prosper, and help to function well within the society, and helping with his kingdom and his movement. So when you're 20, 21, and you just want to have children with, oh, I just like children, babies, baby. By the time you're 25, that child is 6 or 7 years old. By the time you're 30, that child is 11 or 12. And next thing they're talking back at you. You realize that you're so underprepared. First of all, when it comes to parents, let me just throw that you can actually not be that prepared. You can never be over prepared. Prepare to the best of your ability. But the thing is, I think that a lot of us are too focused on that baby thing, and there's a lot of currency in Nigeria that comes with being married and with having children. So that's why you hear a woman in their 50s, when you want to insult them, say, me, I'm a married woman, and I'm a married woman with 3 children. Why do you think you can talk to me that way? There's a social, you have to just accept that there's a social currency that is that. I've heard of some offices that would not employ somebody that is not married. They understand if you're 60 and they're applying to promote you to something, one particular place in your office, they're like, hey, but she's not married, she doesn't have children. I think the same thing happens with men, but I won't talk for women because it's women's zone, I understand, because I've seen it. So these are the reasons I think society has made us believe that different ways that I think that a lot of us have actually chosen to marry. Now, of course, in the comment section, please share why you think you got married. Like, I would like to hear what you people think. Now, when I say what is the point, I'm talking of you. That's you. Point to yourself. When you chose to marry who you married, or when you're going to choose who you want to marry, because I'm assuming there are some of us here are single and we still desire to marry. Why do we want to marry the person? Social media, you hear some crazy theories from people that come up with things that they think that works in a marriage. So you hear a man say, my wife is not my family member, my children are my family members. Should you marry? I don't know if you understand. Like, you go to the altar, okay, and like I said, I'm a Christian. You may not go to the altar. You go to your family house, traditional marriage. You go to your parents-in-law and tell them, I want to marry this person. I promise to take care of her. But you have no plan of doing that. What is the point? Because what it sounds like, I don't know, a lot of us are paying attention to it, but what it sounds like is that you actively want to make someone suffer. You actively want to make yourself suffer. But you cannot help it because you have to marry. I don't know if you're following me. So that's why I had to ask, what is the point? Because you hear some theories, some ideas people come up with. From the concept of spec to the concept of ideals. I think that's the only way I can explain. Your ideal. You hear a man say, I cannot marry a woman that cannot cook fresh food every day. I cannot marry a woman that does not, what else? That doesn't, I don't know. Like, you hear some theories. Now, the thing is, unfortunately, a lot of these things are not things that can be controlled, but there's that thing is in your mind. So the question is like, why is, I have to, like I said, I'm a Christian. I have to bring the church to the front for this, because I feel like I attended a lot of marital and, singles, whatever, growing up. And I realized that a lot of the things I heard then were actually very wrong. Do you understand? There was a lot of, like I said, when you're writing questions, when somebody asks you a question, why should you not commit a crime? You say it is because it's against the law. No, you're not committing a crime because you don't want to get arrested. It's a different thing. Do you understand? So you see some people that are married and they are not married, their depth, they are not putting their all into that marriage. Some people are engaged and they say, oh, it's been 5 years. Oh, it's been 2 years. There was nothing I could do. I had to marry the person. You're talking of the rest of your life here. I just remember having a conversation with someone when I was single. When I was talking about, the person said, now you take marriage very seriously. I was like, but yeah, it's the rest of my life. And there's a belief that, when you're tired, you can just leave. When you leave, you're still affected by that marriage that you had. It doesn't matter how short or how long the marriage is. It actually doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you married 1 year or 2 years. When you leave, you're going to spend another 20 to 30 years having to deal with this thing that happened to you at that time. And if your purpose is important to you, the things that you're supposed to do, things you're supposed to achieve are important to you, you realize that those things, those horrible things that happen to you, actually get in the way of those things that God placed in you that is supposed to come out. it's I just think that we need to, as a society, we Nigerians, I think it's everywhere in the world, but I think let's focus on Nigeria. You understand? We Nigerians need to rethink why we do these things. Okay, I've given you reasons why a lot of us, I think a lot of people do it. I don't know whether we knew it to be true, but I think that if you think well, you realize that those three things I mentioned: societal pressure, the fear of missing out, and then the whole idea of having children, the concept of parenting, is the reason why a lot of us did it. It affects everything. It affects the traditional, it affects the religious, it affects the secular, it affects your work. But the reality is that in the end, you stunt who you are when you marry for the wrong reasons. Because like I said, it's for the rest of your life. If like, we're Christians. If you cannot, as a man, you cannot love your wife. If I don't think you should marry. Like the Bible said, love like Christ did. Christ died for the church. If you cannot, I don't think you should marry that. Find another person, or just don't do it. Because we like to bring this Bible thing into it, where we say, Bible said God is better than man is not. Paul also said, that man is not alone, or it's not good for man to be alone. Sorry, that was the part of the Bible. Paul also said that it is better for you to be single than to marry, because that way you can focus on your work with God. Because what I keep saying is that what you do is that you marry and you create a lot of chaos. The family unit is the original unit of every society that you see. Nigeria is like, if you think of some people, like people in governance, people in leadership, people in church that do some awful things, don't you sometimes wonder who are this person's parents? You will go and ask questions and you hear some crazy things that happen in their house. So we're the millennials now. A lot of us are married already, but some of us are still yet to marry. We millennials, Gen Z, we the women, should we not rethink? First of all, should we even bother? Like, what's the point? Why am I marrying to begin with? If you're dating someone now, you're not yet married, why am I with this person? And it's not, don't try to make it a societal thing. Because there are people that marry for money. Do you understand? I try not to fault people that marry for money. However, I believe that sometimes if you work hard enough, you might make more money than that person. And the interesting thing, your concept of what money is tends to skew when you start doing better. When you're in your early 20s, you think, like, I don't I'm about to I won't cast myself. Let me build myself. Okay, when you're in your 20s, what you think is big money is actually very small. You will get to your 30s or so, and you realize that a friend of yours easily makes that kind of money, like it's nothing for them. So you now think to yourself that as I've stressed myself and I've married this person that is now the source of a lot of stress in my life, you're still in your 30s and you're already thinking, oh my God, I want to kill this person, or I just want to destroy. Like you're in so much, you're immersed in so much chaos and negative energy, your hate, bitterness, regrets. You're only in your 30s, like nothing has happened. I know in the marriage maths, 30s look like it's a big age. Here's the thing, there's the rest of your life to do. If you live up to 90, are you telling me that the remaining 60 years you're going to remain like that? I don't know if you understand. So look at it that way. Because a lot of us are like, it's so bad. Do you understand? You're married to someone you have no plan to devote yourself to, as a woman, as a man. So please let us ask ourselves, if you're married, please, okay, I don't want to cause fights in your house, but if you're someone that can talk to your husband, that's another thing. How can you marry and you cannot talk to your partner? But if you're someone that can talk to your husband, please ask yourself, what's the point? Why are we here? Like, what happened? How did we, because I think that a lot of us have done this thing where it's like marking exam question. Why did you marry your wife? Oh, she's very beautiful. Oh, she's a very smart girl. Oh, she has a good head on her shoulder. Why? What are we using? Okay, so you hear some people say, oh, she's a very smart girl, but the smart, she cannot use it in the house because you're yoga. So because your Lord and the church has taught you that you're the leader of the church, you use it to suppress your spouse. I know something I've also discovered in my conversations is that religion has become such a tool for oppression when it comes to marriage. You oppress your spouse, you oppress your children. Because you know that because the person is religious, they're not going to leave. So you can do anything you want. And your answer is, well, you took a vow, so I knew that you're not going to. But the vow that you took, are you exempted for it? For you to be sharing the other person sugar? Anyway, so this is part one. So next Sunday, I'm going to talk about another one. If you haven't already, please like, and I love you guys. Until next time. Mwah.